you think Washington Monument, you think the big polished obelisk in downtown Washington, D.C. that we're all familiar with. Or if you're from the East Coast, you're from the Mid-Atlantic, you might think the Washington Monument in downtown Baltimore, or maybe there's one in your hometown. There are a lot of Washington monuments. But Brother Herbie and I are hiking to the first Washington Monument. It was built in 1827, and I'm prepared to be underwhelmed.
I've been warned.
We're in the town of Boonsboro, Maryland, and it was here that the townsfolk built the very first Washington Monument. I'm Maynard Edwards, 33rd Degree. This guy's Rite, Freemasonry channel. Thank you for tuning in. Brother Herbie Benavant, you might know him as the Rigging Doctor on YouTube. He's got a great channel. If you're not a member, subscribe to that channel as well. And this is a lot further walk than I originally anticipated.
And it's very up.
Well, and
Now,
Herbie's dressed for it. He's in shorts.
yeah,
I'm in
it's a hot
jeans.
day.
It is. He's a little smarter. So what happened is, in 1827, July 4th, the townsfolk of Boonsboro, Maryland, decided they were no longer going to wait for anybody to tell them or give them permission to build a monument to the father of our country. So they decided to hike up this mountain with big rocks in their hands and build a Washington Monument. On the morning of July 4th, 1827, the quiet town of Boonsboro, Maryland awoke to the sound of a fife and drum corps. Nearly all of the town's 500 residents had gathered in the town square, and the fife and drum corps marched them 2 miles up the rugged terrain of South Mountain in Boonsboro, Maryland, to build a monument honoring America's first president and, of course, preeminent Freemason, Brother George Washington. To build the monument, the townspeople used the unshaped granite found directly on the mountain, and they engaged in a monumental feat of operative masonry. They raised a stone tower 15 feet high on a base 54 feet around. When they laid down their working tools that day, there was a reading of the Declaration of Independence and a 3-round salute fired by local Revolutionary War veterans. After that, they took a break in building until September, when a group of workmen came back and finished the tower to a height of 30 feet. While the towering obelisk in Washington, D.C. wouldn't be completed until 1884, and the Grand Column in Baltimore was still under construction, this humble stone structure in Boonsboro officially became the first completed monument dedicated to Brother George Washington. However, the monument's timeline is as rugged as its stonework. Time, harsh weather, and of course vandalism, including a reported dynamite blast, eventually reduced the historic tower to an all but forgotten pile of rubble. In 1882, the Independent Order of Oddfellows in Boonsboro sponsored a massive restoration project, and they rebuilt the monument to its former glory. But by 1906, the Baltimore Sun newspaper was reporting that the tower was entirely in ruins. 30 years later, the Civilian Conservation Corps rebuilt the tower completely to the form we recognize today. Now, you'd never even heard of this place.
No, and he told me about it, and I decided not to look it up. That way I would be suppressed and wowed. Yeah.
Well, there's a whole state park. It's Washington Monument State Park. And along the trail here, which is a nice trail, they've got little signs talking about different aspects of Washington's life. I've lived in Maryland my entire life. I've lived within 100 miles of this place my entire life and never really had an excuse to come here. But tonight we're watching my son in an MMA fight, more on that later, and it's in this town, so we figured, well, what the heck. And Herbie, aside from being a sailor, is a dentist. He's here to make sure that if Griffin gets his face knocked in, we can put it back together. So
Exactly. Things go better that way.
Let this be a lesson, kids. Bring your own dentist everywhere you go. Oh, wow, there it is up there.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
All right, so I was expecting a literal pile of rocks. Like guys hike up the hill and they're like, done.
I've heard that folks who like to hike the Appalachian Trail, this is about 2-3 miles away from the trail. So like, this is a good side quest, if you will. But oh, look at that. That's not nearly as bad as I thought it would be.
No.
I mean,
That actually, now I will say, they probably did do the pile of rocks on 4th of July because they were drunk.
they had to be, right?
And then come the 7th, hangover's worn off, they feel better, they look at it, they're like, we should make this better.
People say it's shaped like a jug. So, well, here we are at the Washington Monument. First impression.
It's a jug.
Look, down there, that has to be some of the rocks
Oh yeah.
that they carried up here.
Yeah. Another possibility, they hiked up here, the rocks were already present, and they just took the easy to move ones.
Yeah, that would make more sense. I mean, why would you carry rocks from all the way down there? But wow, it is a breathtaking view. All right, well, let's go up inside and check it out. Now, it's a pretty spectacular view, for sure.
Wow.
Antietam National Battlefield is right there where the Battle of Antietam took place, one of the bloodiest battles in the Civil War. And that over there, that's towards West Virginia. And then down here, that little village kind of down right around there, that's the town of Boonsboro. That's where the folks came up from. So they came up this long road up here that kind of disappears into the woods. Well, they certainly picked a good spot for it.
They sure did.
So when you think Washington Monument, obviously we all think of the big one in DC. Since this is a channel about Freemasonry, we got to tie it into Freemasonry. This is an early version. This is a rough ashlar, if you will. This unpolished and uncut. But then, you know, years later, when they put the big one up, 555 feet, I think it is, it's more of the perfect ashlar. So I think there is a little Masonic symbolism hidden in here.
There definitely is.
As someone who has literally traveled the world by boat, and you do that, and you show that on your channel so well. And Herbie's videography is so much better than mine. But you know, what's the value of making sure that you get out and see the things, not just around the world, but the things in your own backyard?
Yeah, so that's actually a thing my wife and I do. We play tourist in our own area because just like this, like I've never been here, but my wife's taken me to all sorts of places in Maryland because she grew up in Maryland. And the places that she always recommends to visitors that come in to go see, I'm like, let's go see that. And it opens up the whole world because you'll travel so far and you don't realize that your own backyard is the best playground as well.
Amen. And as Masons, we are traveling men. The whole idea of Masonry back in the day was if you're a master Mason and you've been in the town, you're an operative Mason and you've helped build the church and you've helped build the school and you've helped build a municipal building in whatever little town it is, in order to continue to work, in order to continue to grow, in order to learn more, you have to go out and travel in the world to another town. It's why Masons had to be men of upstanding character, because if I'm, you know, a Mason and I show up in town and I'm a drunk and a rebel rouser, then everybody's going to say, oh, well, those Masons are bad guys. So when Herbie comes to town to try and get some work as a Mason, you know, they're going to say, oh, he must be a drunk too. So that is why Masons have to be upstanding people. But it's also why traveling is so important. The more you get exposed to different sites, different people, different places, the more you grow. And that's one of the big things we're charged with, is to chip away at rough stones like this one, to turn them into the more perfect stones later on. And this is the perfect year to embrace that history, especially if you're a Mason, because Masonry and early American history are all but inseparable. So take some time and do that and explore your little corner of the world, or go further away if you can, but don't stay inside. Don't just surround yourself with the same things all the time, because you know, got a world traveler here, and you know, he said wow walking up here just the same way I did, which is pretty cool. So all right, thanks, brother. It's good to see you.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to go watch my son be in his first MMA fight, and if he loses a tooth, Herbie's going to put it back in right then and there. So
that's what I'm here for.
His mother's eternally grateful.